Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, in whichever realms of existence you are, whatever mind states you're in, whatever conditions you're in. As always, you're welcome to my channel to immerse yourself in the ocean of the vow. Yeah, so just wanted to make a video that's kind of a follow-up or follow-on to the short video I just posted, to elaborate a bit on that. All of those things I said weren't just something I saw, I could just see them. I just, of my own power, of my own perceptiveness, of my own intuition, that I could see those things because it's in the writings. It's in the sutras. It's in the writings of our Dharma masters. And Amida's light has illuminated all of that for me. And I've experienced it through Amida's power, through Amida's vow power, through Amida's working. I just don't really worry about much with that anymore. That kind of has settled a lot of my questions and a lot of my doubts and a lot of my calculative activity going on up there. By the way, you may see popping into my video my new housemates, our new housemates, Bluebell and Bean, dotting around the garden. My fellow sentient beings that have come to live with us for as long as they can or will live. And they've just come to live with us a couple of weeks ago. But anyway, so obviously we have, my wife and I have obviously have karmic ties to these beings, that they're here, and we're very glad that they are. So just wanted to introduce you. That's Bluebell, and Bean is out there somewhere. He might come around at some point, I'm sure. So I'm just gonna pop her back down to let her explore some more. And so there's a lot that I just, in fact, I'm going to take you on a walk with me and just look for him. Just make sure he's not gotten into any trouble or issues. Sorry, I'll keep it that way, actually. Now that the video started, but oh yeah, there he is. He's fine. They're all fine. Okay, so back to the director's chair. As it were. Hello. And that's not symbolic at all. Anyway, so yes, unscripted, unrehearsed, teleprompter free here at the Gonkai channel. So anyways, sorry about that. So yeah, I just want to get the Buddha in frame there. The garden Buddha in frame. So yeah, anyway, so there's a lot I just don't worry about because of that, because that covers everything. I just need a quick drink of my iced coffee for a lovely, officially summer day in the garden. So yeah, I'm not not worried. There's a lot I'm just not worried about because of that. Because of that being, that teaching being seen, being illumined by Amida for me, is, what else can you say? What else can you add to it? It's so expansive and so complete and so entire that, all you can say is Namo Amida Butsu. In fact, that is Namo Amida Butsu. And, so not only that, but as far as my own questions and doubts and things, that it's incalculative stuff going on, that it sort of Amida sorted out for me through his working, inconceivably. It also makes me not worry about others, if others are getting it right, if, you don't have to worry about what others, other schools of Buddhism, even other, self-power, so-called provisional, teachings, provisional ways, provisional practices, sundry practices, all the different ways that it's worded. You don't have to worry that other people are doing that. In other schools, because that they're following they're there because of their karmic causes and conditions, and their karmic, ties and karmic activities and from the past, and the working of the Buddhism bodhisattvas through Amida on them, with them. So, and they're working through those practices. They're, the Buddhism bodhisattvas, through Amida's power, through Amida's vow, are all doing that, are all working through those schools of Buddhism and those practices, through their skill and means, through their skillful means, out of compassion and wisdom, or through wisdom and out of compassion, something like that. Anyway, so don't have to worry about that, and also don't have to worry about, if people aren't, what people aren't getting quite right, within Jodo Shinshu. Because eventually, Amida uses, Amida uses what people aren't getting quite right. Amida's working uses that. Amida's, that all happens through Amida. So if somebody is saying the Nembutsu in a kind of self-powered way, the Buddhism bodhisattvas and Amida's working are all using that through skill and means to bring that person along to the true way, eventually. And eventually it will become the Nembutsu of faith. It will become the Nembutsu of gratitude. It will become the Nembutsu of other power. And whatever else they're doing, if they're studying in a kind of self-effort kind of way, or if they're even doing meditative practices, combining meditative practices with, the teachings say, I think when you knowingly, you don't need to do that. There's a point in faith and trusting and your journey on the path where you just don't, and you understand why that is, and why you can't use it, why there's not going to be effective for you, for us, for me, so you don't, but if someone else is doing that, you don't need to worry. You can kind of, talk about, this is what the writings say. Don't be involved in sundry practices, in provisional practices, but as long as the teaching is being taught the way that people are reading the writings, and it's being taught in a non-divergent way, eventually those people will, Amida will help enable them to get it. Amida will bring them along. Amida will sort that out. So it's just not, I'm just, an example of this is, well, there's lots of examples, actually. Is all of, like, Pure Land Buddhist practice that isn't Jodo Shinshu. So Chinese, either the Shantou tradition, which is pretty, the new kind of Shantou, I guess you'd call that a school, or refocusing on Shantou for the teachings. There's a certain kind of, I don't know if it's called a school now, but a branch of Pure Land Buddhism where that's what they focus on, is just the sort of certain Dharma masters up to Shantou, who was very that's what very similar to Honen, but Honen was from another age. Honen was of the age of Mappo, and and developed the teachings further, and it was refined further through him, and then brought to fruition through Shinran, ultimately. Anyway, so an example is where they're doing, counting practices of 10,000, Nianfo a day, or whatever other practices they're doing. Amida Buddha is going to use that. Amida Buddha is whether it's in this life or another life, Shinjin's going to happen with those beings. It's going to happen. And also within, Jodo Shinshu, there's people, how can I put this? So I've heard of a certain practice where, sorry about that, if you can hear the puppies are getting a little bit rambunctious and wrestling. Hello, Boo Bell. Hello. Anyway, yeah, I've heard of a kind of practice in Jodo Shinshu where, within a particular sect of Jodo Shinshu, where they talk about using the resting in the Nembutsu, which actually I think that's in the teachings when you say resting in the Nembutsu. But the way that this kind of plays out is where they say you whatever's going on in your life or your mind, you just let your thoughts come and go, and focus on the Nembutsu, focus on Amida, which is basically that's using, and let your thoughts come and go like clouds. Let your thoughts, let them just come and let them go. That's kind of part of a meditation technique, even though they say it's not. Even though they say this is not a practice or a meditation technique, it's not it kind of is. That kind of is a meditative, letting your thoughts come and go, letting your thoughts and feelings come and go. Because eventually they come into being and they'll go out of being. That is, and focusing on the Nembutsu instead of focusing on the breath, or focusing, some techniques would say that same thing. Let your thoughts and feelings and whatever experiences and sensations come and let them go, and focus on the breath. Well, in this case, they're saying, you know, let the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, whatever you're experiencing, come and go, and focus on the Nembutsu. Focus on Amida. Bring your focus back to Amida. That is a meditation technique. Even though they say it's not, but it is. It actually is. That's actually is. And as far as I know, there's nothing in the writing that writings that kind of talk about this. I mean, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, and the way this was come up with was that it was from it occurred to someone. If someone says it occurred to them when they were in a temple, and it occurred to them, and it naturally arose in them. So, and then they say it's kind of is in line with the teachings, which some of that is, some of the ideas of it, but it is a meditation technique. It actually is. That is a meditation technique. So, but what I'm trying to say is I don't need to worry about that. I don't need to worry about that. There was a time I would have been hung up on that, but I don't need to worry about that. That, if, you know, the Amida's using that. The Buddhism Bodhisattvas through Amida's power, Amida's vow, is using that to bring people along. It's fine. It is what it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Anyway, so that's like what I'm trying to say is that's an example within a Jodo Shinshu sect where there is this going on, but is that it's not, and to me sounds like a sundry practice. Sounds like they're utilizing aspects of a sundry practice and a self-power practice, but I don't, like I said in the previous video, I don't limit Amida Buddha's power. I don't limit Amida Buddha's working. I don't limit Amida Buddha's influence on the minds of beings. I don't limit Amida Buddha's skillful means. I don't limit, there's no limit there isn't, because I don't limit it. I can't limit it. And it's unlimited. It's incalculable. It's immeasurable. It's inconceivable. So it's working through that as well. And it's working through any form of Buddhism, no matter how folkified it is. Like the traditional folk, Chinese, East Asian, let's just say in general, the folk way kind of, folk ways mixed with Buddhism, or the Bon tradition of Buddhism, the mixture of Tibetan, the pre-existing Tibetan spirituality with Buddhism, and a lot of cultures where the folk Buddhism comes from, the folk religion comes from, is the ancient shamanism. It comes from all cultures. That was pretty much the original kind of documented, or at least known form of spirituality, or more formalized-ish form of spirituality and religious practice was shamanistic ways. And that's where a lot of stuff, that when Buddhism came to these cultures, it as I've talked about in another video, it kind of, Buddhism kind of naturally inculcates itself into the pre-existing culture, the pre-existing, way of living, way of life. And that included some of these ways, as a skill and means. I think this, the causes and conditions in that, collective causes and conditions in that culture, and individual causes and conditions in that culture they're not allowed, but the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas use that, ultimately Amida used that to as a skill and means. So Buddhism just naturally took, blended with those things. And so that's where a lot of what I'm talking about, like the folk, the folk ways kind of where Buddhism, or that Buddhism's involved with, this it's almost a combination of like Taoism, Buddhism, shamanistic kind of things. The Buddhism Bodhisattvas are using all of that. Amita's working is in all of that. Working. In fact, there's some, the White Lotus sect or White Lotus stuff has things about the original unborn mother of the beginningless past. And then at some point, Amitofo, Amitofo got, Amida, Amitabha Buddha got kind of associated with that. So there's some of that in there. So you can kind of see it. If you read about those things, you can kind of see why that did that. But it's all Amida Buddha and all the Buddhism Bodhisattvas are using that. We don't have to worry. It's all in there. It's all being used. It's all being moved along in the true way. In fact, that was one of my earliest practices was, I started, I've mentioned before, I probably started studying Buddhism in my last year of, started getting books from the library and looking at books from the library on Buddhism in my final year of high school. And just checking on the puppies. And part of that was, not part of that. Sorry. So I started reading about that, and then, and as well as philosophy. So for I started reading about Buddhism, philosophy, Taoism, and then I started getting into naturalistic spirituality, including shamanistic things and what people call paganism, or that kind of stuff. I just called it kind of naturalistic spirituality, naturalistic religion. Just to kind of stay, I just call it that, to stay away from all the labels of it and whatever, and associating with a particular culture of it. And so I basically, when I got into those naturalistic pagan, spirituality, shamanistic. It was more shamanistic than anything, and Buddhism and Taoism came with me in that. It was right there in all of that, because the naturalistic spirituality fits quite well with Taoism and Buddhism. So I kind of was did that myself. I think Amida Buddha used that in my own life for a few years when I was at university. I was involved with that. I had altars, very, you would probably have looked kind of like the folk ways kind of altars, shamanistic folk way kind of altars. So that I've experienced that in my own life, and I can see clearly now through Amida's light, through Amida's working, that was definitely something that, Amida Buddha used in my own life. So anyway, don't have to worry. Yes, we want to get the teachings right. Yes, we want to read what's in the teachings and follow what's in the teachings. But relax. We can just relax. And yes, correct divergences, correct people. You need to get the right, the right teaching. But that's got to come through a very holistic experience of a person's own path, and working with their good teacher or good teachers, and all of that. It comes in a natural way. It just naturally unfolds. So, yeah, I think I've covered that topic that I wanted to cover in this, for kind of where I am in my, my own Jodo Shinshu path, and on the path with you, very much so. And I thank you for listening. And I'm gonna close it up with some Nembutsu. Put my iced coffee down. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda Butsu, Namanda, Namanda. All right. Thank you very much, and until next time. One way or the other, Amida gotcha. Amida gotcha. One day, maybe next week, he will embrace you. Embrace you. Okay. I'm glad. I know you're glad that's over. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, in whichever realms of existence you are, whatever mind states you're in, whatever conditions you're in. As always, you are welcome to my channel. Another video from the garden, a slightly different angle on it today. And I was trying to have the, I don't think I've got the right angle here to have the one of the garden Buddhas in frame. Where is he? It's kind of obscured through the various plants, the prolific plants that we have in our garden. Anyway, there's another view. Anyway, so yeah, what I wanted to talk about this morning is very early. It's very early for singing in the garden, but anyway, I think I better just turn back this way. But anyway, so I'm going to talk today about a bit further on the subject I've been kind of talking about the last couple of videos, is the importance of, related to that, I should say, is the importance of the correct transmission, the proper transmission. And so it is important that the proper transmission is given of the teachings, however that happens, by whatever means. This is where the fivefold teaching is important, because if the fivefold teaching unfolds, as it were, the fivefold elements unfold, as it were, through Amida's good from the past, Amida's working, Amida's inconceivable Vow-Power, then that transmission will be correct. So it's another reason you don't have to worry about it, because Amida is going to take care of that. Amida will take care of that. And when I say you don't have to worry about it, you do have to worry. You do have to, not worry, but you do want to make sure that you understand the teachings properly. And you should be, that's part of your own deep listening process, which is actually Amida's enabling you to deeply listen, to illuminating the teachings for you. But that's something you should be doing. You should be trying to, understand the correct teaching through the writings, through working with a good teacher, through reflection, through Dharma dialogue. That's all part of deeply listening, deep reflection. And obviously saying Nembutsu, wherever you are, whenever you are, in whichever realms of existence you are, whichever mind state you're in, whatever conditions you're in, as always, just say the Nembutsu. But, so what I mean by not worrying is the process is Amida's. The power, the unlimited, incalculable, inconceivable, mind-blowing, going to all dimensions, multiverses, worlds of the 10 directions. That's what's doing it. So that's the part you don't have to worry. Amita's working. He's working it out. And so the correct transmission will happen through Amita's good from the past. You're going to find a good teacher. And you're going to start to do that. And you have, sorry, the puppies are, it's a bit early, puppies. Hey, puppies. Hey, Bluebell. Anyway, just don't want them to be too noisy. It's pretty early here. Don't want to be waking the neighbors. Anyway, so where was I? Yeah, so the correct transmission will happen. You know, the correct see, this is another aspect of it. Ultimately, the correct transmission occurring is through Amita, is up to Amita, is because of Amita. It's not because of us. So this is like another reason you don't have to, I remove the worry, it has removed the worry part. Because I'm confident that Amita will work that out. Amita will, or just continues to work that out since beginningless past. And so I just want to emphasize it. So it is important to get the right teaching. That's part of that's part of the process of deeply listening and deep reflection, Dharma dialogue, all of that. Not listening over hedge, but getting right in there and speaking up, as Renyo says. So that's so it is your responsibility. But it's not by your power. It's your responsibility to do that within your own path, which is Amita's path, it's all Amita's practice. It's all Amita's teaching, practice, and realization. That sense of responsibility will naturally arise from that. That sense of responsibility, the sense of urgency, the sense of the importance of the desire to understand the teachings. That all naturally arises if the fivefold elements are present. If it's through Amita, when Amita's working, that sense of responsibility and the proper transmission will occur. It just will. So that's the part. That's what I kind of meant by not having to worry. And on the other hand, even when things are not being taught correctly, or even when people have the wrong understanding, eventually that will get sorted out by Amita. It's working. Eventually it will work itself out. It will work out. And Amita and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas working through Amita will use that incorrectness as a skillful means, skill and means to guide beings. I think there's mentioning in the writings about that people even getting it wrong. I think it's Tanisho. Even people getting it wrong will become a teaching. This is where Amita transforming our, I think this is what makes me think of Amida transforming our past, present, and future, karma, evil, what we think of as is, and our spiritual evil and our, and everything, all that. He will transform that into the highest good. And I think, it makes me think, does that include when people get it wrong? When people even get it wrong, that will be transformed. That's transformed in some way. Like I said, I think it's in Tanisho. Although that's another thing I need to talk about is Tanisho a bit, that being one of Shinron's followers, devoted followers, presenting his words. I want to talk about that. With Kyokan, but hey puppies, hey, Bluebell, sorry Bluebell. Again, as always, unscripted, unrehearsed, teleprompter free. You're the Gankai channel. Anyway, so what was I saying? So yeah, I think it's in Tanisho where it's mentioned that, yeah, this is the context I want to talk about. That's this, when I say about Tanisho, with Tanisho, that's an example of someone transmitting Shinron's words to us, no doubt enabled, empowered by Amida to do so, to get it right. Anyway, so even in Tanisho, it even says something along that line of, basically even I don't think it says this exactly, but it's the idea is something along the lines of, even when people are getting things wrong, it becomes a teaching. It becomes a way, it becomes a skill and means for others to get the correct transmission, to get onto the path. So that was, I just, I don't want to say, I'm not saying when I say don't worry, the only reason I say that is that the correct transmission and the correction of divergences ultimately is up to Amida and the Buddhism Bodhisattvas working through Amida, who are Amida in multiple forms, Nirmanakaya forms, but it's not up to us. That's the part when I say we don't need to worry. It's not up to us. So I don't need to get angry or anxious or judgmental or anything else. There doesn't need to be any emotional disturbance about that stuff. Now there are strong words, obviously, Shinron uses some strong words about, the deplorableness of this, of things, of the teaching being incorrectly transmitted or the state of the Sangha. And so, that's important. That is, that's a good, wake up call. It's a good reminder. It's a good, of the importance of the teaching, the importance of getting it, of understanding it right through your own path, your own naturally arising responsibility as you encounter the Amida's light in this life. So I just, I don't want anybody thinking that I don't think it's, you can just be casual about it. No, that's not how my path has gone. My path has gone. I wanted to get it right. That's why I've been so questioning. That's why I question and try to work through. Oh, Bluebell's coming to see us. Hello, Bluebell. Yeah. So, where's your brother? Where's your brother? Oh, kisses. So, yeah. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. Distracted by other sentient beings. So it's, it's still important to get the, to understand that. But that, again, that what I was trying to say is it naturally has arisen. That's the reason I've been so questioning. That's why I've left no stone unturned in the course, of my Jodo Shinju path. It's been, since the mid to late 2000s. I have been asking every question I could think of, expressing every doubt I could think of. Some questions, doubts, barriers, it took longer for me to kind of get around to, or to even realize, or to kind of have the courage or the being bothered to go, okay, I gotta talk through this. I've got to talk through this with someone, with the Sangha, with a good teacher. But that's why, because within me, there's the natural desire to get the teachings correct. The natural, that's naturally arisen as I've encountered Amita's light, encountered the Dharma, encountered Amita in this life. That's naturally arisen in me to get the teachings right, to get the and that's because of Amita. So that's the part I mean. Don't worry. At the same time, you still need to get the right. And if you're a good teacher, you should be transmitting the Dharma correctly. But Amita enables that as well. Someone to be a good teacher enables somebody to. It's Amita's good from the past. It's Amita's working that enables all that. So, anyway, it's hard not to talk about this without talking about Amita's working, conceivable working. And I know at some point, talking about no working becomes true working, or becomes working. But no working is true working, all that. But no, and that if you talk about it too much, it becomes working again, self-working, self-power. But I don't think I'm doing that here at all. I'm just trying to. Oh, there's your brother. Here, go ahead, go find your brother. Anyway, you still haven't met Bean fully on camera yet. He's a little more elusive. He's a bit of a character. Anyway, so on the one hand, yes, don't need to worry about it because it's all up to Amita, and it's already happening through Amita. But at the same time, natural arising is the importance of getting the teachings right, the importance of the correct transmission, the importance of, but that all comes as a part of the path. So I can remove the worry, or the worry's been removed, and now it's all about, just immersing in the Dharma. Just immerse in the Dharma. Immersion in the Dharma will get it done. Immersion in the Dharma, Amita's power will get the rest of it done. In fact, Amita is immersing us in the Dharma. Anyway, I think I covered it. but probably talk about all of this in a Dharma dialogue with Kyokan, and also my Dharma Dharma brothers at our weekly Dharma chat, Dharma discussion, Dharma study. So, all right. Well, have a great day. Thanks for listening, and Namo Amida Butsu.